started now.
I heard it cried tonight.
So you're gonna wait on Janice to get back, or?
Yeah, I'm just gonna turn here and tell her.
Yeah, big one. Checks, off, taxes, hops, butcher shop.
Janice was sitting there, but she can move.
She moved.
We're good.
I thought she was.
This is busy everywhere.
Stay away from me.
Good afternoon. I'd like to call the May 8th, 2019 meeting of the Historic Preservation Review Board to order. Mr. Boswell, if you will, roll call, please.
Mr. Weaver? Here. Mr. Giesler? Here. Mr. Neese? Here. Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Do we have a quorum?
Thank you. First order of business on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the April 3rd, 2019 meeting. These minutes were sent to committee members. Does anyone have any comments?
Chairman, I move we accept the minutes as presented.
Mr. Weaver has made a motion, if I may. Mr. Weaver, I had just two small corrections. On page 5, the third paragraph from the bottom, where it says elevation of King Street, where the elevation is different, do instead of difference. Should be different. And then one other correction on page 7. The last sentence of the last paragraph where it would say, states board would like the record, just insert for the record. And those were the only comments that I have. Any other? Now, if I...
Okay, now I'll move that we accept the minutes with corrections as noted.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Giesler?
Aye.
Mr. Neese? Aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye. We want to welcome everyone to the meeting tonight and thank you all for coming. The way we proceed is we have an agenda, and tonight, ladies and gentlemen, it is, there are 11 different items on it. The packet itself is 135 pages. So before we even get started, I want to thank you for attending and kind of beg your patience, all in the same sentence. As you're called, we'll go down for each certificate of appropriateness. If you would, please step up to the podium and tell us a little bit about your application. And then if we have any questions, we'll ask the questions and then act upon your COA. With that said, the first certificate of appropriateness is Dr. Bowden.
Jeff, I have to make a small correction.
Yes, sir.
She did get an MRS, but that's the extent of her postgraduate education.
That's it.
This is really in Jim Lou's name, not mine.
That's all right.
But she has done very well by the MRS, let me tell you.
Yes, sir. You
Stand
all,
with me, if I can't hear something. I'm Jimmy Lou Bowden, Jimmy Lou Moore Bowden, and the house I'm interested in is my house on 179 West Main Street. Dad, French Moore Sr., left the house to me in 1998, and I have preserved the house and loved the house and I have tried desperately to save the slate roof, but we're at the point now we can't do any more about it. So I do have to replace the roof, and I can't afford to put the slate roof on. But I have am I going too far? Is this
No, ma'am.
what you wanted?
No,
Okay.
ma'am.
I have selected a shingle roof that I think resembles very much to the slate roof. And I hope you all will okay it, and I have a sample here. It's unfolded.
Would be helpful if I pass this in front of the board.
Can I help you?
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Jason.
And that's what was included.
Yes.
Uh,
Got the pictures.
Yes, we got pictures of the antique slate.
All right. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Send it, Michael.
The antique slate is a lighter color, is that correct? Okay, yeah.
This thing is not
That thing is so
live.
awkward and heavy. Thank
Yes, ma'am.
you. These things here are not.
Okay, and that's all you're doing, is just putting the
Just
new roof
putting a
on?
new roof on.
Yes, ma'am. This provision is covered under section 37. Roofs of, actually 37B, roofs of new shingles, approximate as close as possible the original materials. Approximate colors are dark gray and black, brown, things of this nature, which the slate seems to comply with. Does anyone have any questions?
We're just having multiple leaks.
Yes.
What did he say? I'm not hearing very
Oh,
well.
I'm sorry.
He said, are you having multiple leaks?
Oh, yes.
Um,
Yes, and it's, really messing up the interior of the house. And we'll probably have to replace some wood once they've taken the slate off before we put these shingles down.
Roof decking? type?
Is that the original roof?
That's the original roof, and the house is about 100 years old. About 1917, 18.
That's probably the only slate roof in town, isn't it? I think. I don't know.
It's probably the last
Tavern.
one. What did he say?
That's the only slate roof in town. The
Oh.
train station, was it?
The train, you all put a new roof on the train station,
Right.
and you put slate back. I wondered what that cost.
Oh, yeah.
I was tempted to call and see what that cost, thinking I might have to go to the slate roof, but I thank you all for changing that. It doesn't have to be like the original, the slate, but to look as much like it. And I love the house, and I want it to be preserved and taken care of, and I've tried to do that. And I said, as long as I'm physically and financially able, I'm gonna continue to do that. We don't live there. It's a guest house for family. I don't charge anybody that needs, of the family that needs to come and have a place to come back to Abingdon to stay. And our family's big, and they love to come, and it's just pretty much like Mother and Dad left it. The furniture's still in the house, the antiques, and
Anyone have any questions on what's been presented? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the application as submitted.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Geisler?
Aye.
Mr. Neese? Aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
it's okay.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you all so much. And Jason, thank you for all your help.
Mr. Boswell was a lot of help.
We'll put it-
You're lucky to have him.
It was a pleasure, sir. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the COA for Mr. White.
Good luck.
Forgive me, Dr. White.
Oh, no, that's fine, Ramsey, be fine. We were here 2 months ago and got approval to paint the shed that's in the back, the potting shed or small garage on the back of our property, 133 East Main. And that is a problem. I had, it says at East Main, we pick up mail constantly for the town. The post office delivers, the town's address is 133 West Main. But, so in the back, but I decided we needed steps to go into the door that's located on the south side of the property. And I decided we're gonna have to put steps. Why not go ahead and add a little flourish to it? And so we're putting, like to put on a portico. Colors will still be the same. As a further little historic note or play on this, that the family, we bought it from the Worrells, live in Charlottesville, and they owned at one time Pantops, which was Jefferson's farm, one of Jefferson's farms. And the wood paneling on the inside is from Pantops, black walnut. But I just took a look at the front of the west wing, I believe, of Monticello, and it has shutters, it has columns, and it has a little portico with the, what's that, palladium window. So I said, yeah, why not? Now, I had also asked previously to put some columns in the garden, and I'm gonna probably forego that. And then let these 2 columns here suffice. And it's still gonna be, I mean, I'm not trying to make it look like a formal piece of work, because it's still a potting shed. But I just thought with the steps having to be put there anyway, that why not go ahead and just make it add a little flourish to it.
Now, refresh my memory, is this coming out of the garden, or is this off of Plum Alley?
This is off, coming straight out of the house.
Okay.
This
On the
faces
back
south,
Yes, sir.
which is really only seen obliquely or from the side by the public.
The paint is the same?
White, will be white. Yes, the columns will match the pilasters on the front, entering the front door of the house on Main Street.
The roofing material?
Probably shingles or, it's
what's
gonna be
what's-
very hard to see anyway.
Dry green standing seam.
But it's what's on the shed now is a cheap metal. You know, remember again, it's just a shed, so we'll try and probably match something with that.
Well, I mean, tell me, are you going with a metal roof, standing seam, or?
Well, I'm not gonna put a standing seam, you know, the roof's only gonna be this wide and 6 feet long, but it's, we'll try and find whatever they put on the original roof or what's on the shed roof right now to match it. I don't think it's standing seam, is it, Betsy?
It's the barn roof.
It's a barn,
It's
yeah.
the, you know,
You could probably,
exposed fasteners.
5V.
on that, in the little front cupboard at my house just has just plain metal across that's kind of draped a little bit over the edge of the front of the, you know, so I think just plain metal would work without any, without
Okay.
having to be raised seam or anything. It's gonna be a small, how wide's it gonna be?
What, 8 feet? I think I'm gonna widen it about 2 more feet. I want the shutters to be shown right here on this side, so I may move with Peyton's permission, the columns out just a touch
Yeah.
to show the shutters.
Yeah,
But this
he's
roof
talking
here,
about-
from the side will be painted the same color as that roof. Dark green, black green.
What is the depth of the portico?
Makes the ridge out
What am I reading? I can't read this.
Peyton,
3
The
feet.
plan view.
there. I can't read it either.
It's on the plan.
What were you asking?
It's from here to here, what, 3 feet? But the elevation, you
Was
see
that what
from
you
the
were
ground
asking?
here is gonna be up 4 feet.
How far across it was?
Well, I mean, he's talking about the width being 8 feet and the depth.
Yeah, I'm talking
About
about
3 feet.
widen this.
Oh, I'm talking about how far it's gonna extend out, how far it's gonna extend out from the
Here to
building,
here?
yes.
I think 3 feet, not far, it's just
Yeah,
It's
that's
a
what I
passing
was
I think this has
reference.
been shrunk or blown up or something.
Yeah, it's very hard.
The text is hard to
Very
read.
hard to get all that information.
I mean, the metal would work.
Looks like it says 4.5.
Can you all read it?
It looks like it says 4.5, but I'm
Sorry, I
looking it
can't,
up.
I can't read it and I can't remember.
Can you see it now, Peyton? I'm trying to blow it up a little bit.
I think that makes it worse.
You're probably right.
It's on the plan view in the upper left corner, Jason.
Can you come down
Vision.
at all?
And I can't
I'm not trying to read that, that up there.
That's the,
It's shown
yeah,
4
all
feet.
right, that was it, where is
Look,
it? Here, 4 feet?
Yeah,
I think it's 4 feet.
from
Here
3
to
feet
here.
over to the
The brick
column.
pad is 4 feet, the
Well,
column is
Right.
3, I believe it's what it
And
is.
the reason for the question was.
3 feet to the center line of the post.
Correct.
I just have one comment. If you widen it, then you need to have Peyton look at it so that the pediment doesn't get into your window.
Yeah, no, all right, you mean up into the Palladium window? No, it wouldn't be any higher. We widen it, it would just extend out probably 6 inches on each side here,
Well,
whatever. And we may be able to show the shutters, but I don't want the shutters blocked behind the columns.
It's, the ridge will get higher if you widen it, unless you lower the plate height, which.
well,
I don't think you
or
want.
change the pitch.
We just change the pitch
Okay.
ever so slightly. It's,
Because it
Peyton,
doesn't
you want
match,
to
it doesn't
prove-
match the building pitch anyway, there's no way we could have done that, because you really would get up into the window or have to be too low here.
no, it won't be any higher.
Okay.
We'll just change the pitch, flare it out just a little.
No, the metal roof will be, just try to match what's on the existing shed, given the size of it. I don't see a concern right there. I think was what Byron was alluding to. Columns are gonna match the front.
Yes,
Wood.
that is, here's the front, right here, they have pilasters here and here, and they will match.
They're scaled down versions of the pilasters. And all of it is based on the trim on the front, but it's all sort of shrunken just because of the scale that's needed here, which is smaller.
And again, this is a passing reference, this is still just a shed, and I'm not trying to make it look like something that is gonna go in Better Homes and Gardens.
No, and I appreciate that.
That's a big area.
But whether it's a shed, I mean, we have the ability to make certain exceptions. But regardless, the structure still needs to comply with whatever the guidelines are. So, what I've got is white paint, and it's gonna be the same white paint that we previously approved.
Right, the gray door to match the front of the house. This is gray, the steps are gray, this will be gray, and it'll have the black-green shutters, which are up on the, all on the second floor of the house. And on the patio, but the patio, they cannot be seen through the brick wall on the patio, but they,
The door is a wooden door,
yes,
shutters are wooden shutters.
wooden shutters. And we're probably, yeah, they're there now, the shutters are there now. And we will do the steps and the porch all out of the, trying to match the brick that's already there. All this is brick. Looks like a little temple, doesn't it? That's probably where I'll go live when she throws me out.
I was gonna refrain from anything. So I've got the paint, the roofing, the columns, the doors, shutters, and steps.
But I don't think it's.
And the steps will be brick.
Okay, well, the paint is gonna be white, the roofing is gonna be a metal roofing that extends out 4 feet, subject to change from what you've submitted. The pitch may change a little bit. The columns are same column, same design as approved out front. The shutters, the doors are wooden, and then the steps are gonna be made out of the brick to match the house.
It'll match the bricks that are on the shed.
On the shed itself.
It's
Does
close.
that accurately
Yes,
restate?
there'll be, and I think this is already approved too, some trim on the shed will be gray. This will be the black gray, and black green, and this, the door will be gray, and little pieces of trim will be gray.
And again, the trim is wood?
Yes.
Okay. I would ask, same thing we did with prior COA, prior to construction, if you would submit a sample of, just the color of the white and the gray to staff.
But we already, I think we have. Well, we gave you the number, it's the
Okay.
white.
If I don't have it, I'll walk down and take a picture.
And so we're putting it was painted two different colors of white, the house, and we're taking it back to the white. Somebody painted it, some of the trim in an off-white.
I think we have.
Okay, and I'm not being difficult, but this is a separate COA from the prior. So, without us having to flip back and forth, with the numbers, everything, it'd just be simpler, but we can get, Jason's got this information, so we'll get it.
Pure white is the gray that will match the gray on the front door, and we haven't had that analyzed exactly what that is. But the shutters are the black, green, black, whatever you wanna call it, and I believe Lowe's calls it, nocturnal green. I believe is what the color is there.
Okay. Again, the paint is gonna be white, roofing is metal, columns the same to match the front, the shutters, and the doors are both made out of wood. Shutter color will be the black green, sample to be provided to Jason. The steps will be made out of brick to match what's existing on the shed. Does that accurately restate?
I think it does, yes.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve as stated.
So moved.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second, Mr. Boswell.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Geisler?
Aye.
Mr. Neese?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye. Thank you all.
Merci.
Thank you. I'd like to make one more comment. Thank you. I couldn't help it. I just want, it's interesting to note that Mrs. Worrell, when she built that little shed in 1980s, she built it sort of as a garden folly. And so that's really what it is. It's a garden folly. And so this just is continuing that. It's going to be a very pretty little place, a little folly. Thank you.
Thanks.
Are the Levines present?
Levines,
Levines,
I'm the
okay.
representative.
I apologize, Mr. Boyd.
I promise to leave after this, though.
Tell us a little bit about, I know we had the discussion at the prior meeting.
Yeah, I was not here when Mr. Levine brought the project for sort of a pre-approval, I suppose. I'm not sure why he was here, but essentially, I think the concept of the addition that we propose on the Levine house on Green Spring Road, I don't know the road number, the street address, will pick up, I guess you would say, on the mid-century detailing of the house that's there, which is very sort of simple and almost stripped down. So the addition that we are proposing is to pick up on those details, to meet eaves lines, to match roof pitch, but then to kind of expand a little bit into something a little more interesting, a little bit more of 2019 as opposed to 50s or 60s, whenever this was built. So,
Jason, if you would, go to, there's a picture of the house as it exists currently, right there.
yeah, this, everything you see that's not brick will come away and be replaced. That bottom piece is just a metal roof carport with a sort of lean-to wall. So all that comes away. The concrete, poured concrete wall that you see that comes across and up, follows the slope up the hill will remain, but the rest will go away. So I think if you want to go through some of those SketchUp views, Jason, we can. So here, the carport is, the roof's being replaced by a deck, so you can see how there's an open, uncovered deck, and then it connects to a screen porch, which you see there on to the left of the deck. And then that area below the screen porch is just a covered area that probably won't be used, it won't be planted in anyway because it's in the shade. The materials are brick and horizontal wood siding of some description. I'll say right off the bat that none of the materials are being brought for approval. At this time, the Vines are still looking at brick, and I'm helping them with some choices. So they hope to bring those for the next meeting to get approval on the materials. And I don't think they're not asking for permission to start construction until after those approvals are made.
That leads me to, I guess, my next question. What do you actually want considered tonight?
The design, what it looks like. And the materials will be where they're shown. I think you can see where brick is indicated and where wood is
Yes.
indicated. And then the columns on the lower level are all, will be brick.
I think the reason he was here last time is because the house currently has a metal roof on it, which is very inappropriate for that style of home.
Or for any other, for anything. That kind of metal.
That particular, yeah. So he just wanted to get our thoughts on removing that and going back to a shingled roof, which would be more appropriate for that style of home.
Which I'm sure would have been on there originally.
Yeah.
So the addition and the existing house will have an asphalt shingle roof. I mean, there's the one area there of some glass block you can see, which is in a bathroom on the addition.
In looking at the plans, the only question that I had, I mean, as far as the roof tying in, anything of that nature, it's an improvement over what is there by all means currently, was on the side porch right there. The railing, is that a wire,
It's a cable rail.
cable rail?
Mhm.
Okay. That's one of the aspects I needed to take a look at because I'm unfamiliar with that within the district and actually even within the guidelines.
No, I'm sure it's not addressed in the guidelines, but it's appropriate for this type of contemporary addition, I think.
Okay, well, I mean, then it would be an exception to the guidelines.
But if that were proposed next door to you, it wouldn't be appropriate, but given where it's located, it sits alone by itself, it's a contemporary home. I don't really have an issue. If you're on the creeper trail, you won't see it unless the sun just happens to light it up.
Well, the majority of improvements here won't be seen, you know, unless you're on the creeper trail or from that angle there.
The point of that kind of railing, I've used it before, not in the historic district, is you get tremendous visibility from the deck or screen porch when you're sitting there, because it's a 3/16 of an inch, I think, or less. Twisted
Well, in.
cable with the same spacing that code requires. And actually, it has to be a little less than the 4 inches required, because you've got a little bit of, you're able to pull those apart a little bit, so it's usually about, I think, about 3.5 inches.
When was this house built?
I don't know the exact date, but it must have been 60s or later.
I'm wondering if Billy DeBusk actually built it. Billy used to live there.
I think it was always in the DeBusk
Yeah, he built it.
family.
Yeah, did it?
I can't remember when,
That was my only, in reviewing the design and the way everything is laid out, my only concern was the actual railing itself on it, because again, that wasn't addressed.
And I sort of agree with Michael on that this is one of those houses that, it's of an era and a design that's really not a typical house in the historic district. And we dealt with some of these houses on Valley Street that,
It's non-contributing.
when you look at the guidelines, they're not much help in terms of what to do when you're making an addition or, and it's on the it's on the edge of the historic district, sort of extended out on, I guess, Green Springs Road, is that right?
Yes.
This is 350 Green Springs?
It's
Almost
between
spot zoning.
it's between Cindy Patterson's house and the little guest house that the Levines worked on.
So 1963 is when it was built. And most of the houses built in that time frame were coming out past the war. I guess they just kind of started consolidating the smaller stuff, and prairie style was condensed into kind of one of the ranchers, just one long run.
Well, in a way, that style was a watered down version of what Franklin Wright was.
Exactly. But what you've added to the back of it actually echoes what it was watered down from.
Well, I'd like to request that, if that's the proper term and action, that the board makes an exception to the fact that the cable rail is not addressed in the guidelines. Because
That was my only, in looking at the design, and again, the materials will all have to be presented, whether it's the brick, the wood siding, and the shingles, prior to full approval of the COA. But as far as the design itself, my only concern was the railing.
Well, I guess our
Anyone
only
else?
alternative would be to require some sort of picket railing, and that's not going
Correct.
to look.
Well, and I'm just saying that was my concern. I'm not disagreeing with you all, that given the style of house, I just didn't see it.
Well, I would be agreeable to an exception if that's what's required.
Okay. Did anyone else have any questions relative to the design? Hearing none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the design itself. And this is, again, want to reiterate for purposes of the record that all the materials will have to come back before the board for approval prior to any construction.
sure.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Would like to add that the design does include the wire railing. As such, we'll need all four. Have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Geisler?
Aye.
Mr. Neese? Aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye. Thank you. The design is definitely going to be an improvement on it.
Thanks. Well, and the Lions were sorry they couldn't be here, but they're in the Grand Canyon, so I can't really blame them.
No, no.
Well, Joe was in the Grand Canyon and Donna was staying up on the rim, she said. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Don't take a selfie.
Mrs. Klein.
Are you gonna say anything about that?
I can, but I wasn't going to, but why don't you go ahead with what you.
What I have, I'm here to ask permission to build a brick sidewalk into Valley Street, into my house, 108 East Valley Street. The concrete has deteriorated so much that I'm afraid somebody will fall and then want to sue me because they failed. So, the brick that I would like to use will match the brick on the house as closely as this house is 80 years old, and I'm sure they don't make that brick anymore. But they do make brick that matches it to a degree.
One of the questions, there was a subsequent picture in here relative to the design of the brick, and I just wanted to
I put
see.
that in as reference.
Okay, was that a reference?
Yeah, just as reference that actually she's got brick sidewalk on both sides.
Correct. Is that the design? It's kind of a reference.
Yes, very similar to that.
Okay. Oh, you got it right there.
So you have some brick sidewalks already? Oh.
Only
this is-
have one
No,
sidewalk.
Gotcha.
There's-
Brick sidewalks.
In driving down Valley, it goes
Gotcha.
brick, concrete, back and forth.
There's a photograph in there of the stoop.
Oh, well, it would have to be,
There. You gonna replace that as well?
you know.
Okay.
And also, I need to, I just found this out yesterday. I need to do some repair on the shutters on that house. One of them is about ready to come down. So, before it comes down, I'd like to get somebody to fix it.
Yeah, wood shutters.
Yes.
And are you going back with wood? If it's
Yes,
just a
I am
maintenance
going
item.
back with wood.
If it's just a maintenance item, anything of this nature, then that's a minor action, which you can come and talk to Mr. Boswell, you know, or if you'd like us to approve this now, then,
Well, I have somebody coming Monday to do some painting, and she said she could paint shutters because they really need. But I have somebody that's going to repair the one that is fallen. I don't know how much.
the paint you're going back with is the same paint that's there?
Yes, same
Okay.
color.
Yeah.
And also I want to paint my front door to match the shutters. And this is what she chose that was the closest to what's on the shutters now.
So, let me try to restate, we've got replacing the existing sidewalk with a brick sidewalk in a similar design
Right.
as was submitted there. Also, replacing the stoop
Right.
with a
Same
brick
thing.
stoop, same thing. Okay, and the brick is gonna match as close as you can,
Yeah.
the brick on the
I
house.
have a brick mason who has looked at it. He thinks he can find some that will match.
Okay. Then painting the front door in the color that you
Yeah,
have.
right. This is what's on the shutters right now.
And then painting and repairing the existing shutters, which are the same color.
Right.
And the repairs will be wood for wood.
Right.
Okay. Is that,
That's it.
okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve, or is there any discussion on the items? If none, motion to approve.
I just wanna clarify, the stoop, I guess you're just doing the same thing with smooth concrete on top.
With what?
The stoop, you're redoing
Right,
it.
to match the walk.
Okay.
Are you gonna have concrete on the top, brick around the base,
Well,
and concrete on
I
the top?
talked to the brick mason, and he has looked at it, and he says that there should not be any problem with doing the walk and the stoop without,
Let me ask you, do you want brick on the top?
yes.
Okay, so everything is gonna be brick?
Right.
Okay. Did that answer? Okay. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second, Mr. Boswell.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Geisler?
Aye.
Mr. Neese?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye. If I could get you to do me a favor.
Okay.
The brick, prior to laying anything of that nature, please bring a sample
Okay.
to Mr. Boswell, and just leave the paint sample
Okay.
with him.
Shall I leave it? Thank you. Am I through?
Yes, ma'am. So, the next certificate of application is Mr. Lilly and Mr. Doris.
I'm Greg Lilly. What we'd like to do is add handrails to the front porch. Right now it's about 3 to 4 feet off the ground. I've got nieces and nephews with toddlers. So I want to bring this up to code with a wooden rail and then a rail down the steps in the front. And secondly, what we're going to do, we use this as an example of the style of the house. And right now it's got kind of colonial round columns going up, and we're going to resurface those into a square.
Are you resurfacing the whole column or just the base?
The whole column.
Whole column?
So I did a little Photoshop to try and tell you what it looked like. And the color's gonna be exactly the same color that's there today, that white.
Bottom, top rails, all wood, balusters, everything's
Yes,
wood.
everything's wood.
My only question, whenever I was looking at this, was relative to the columns,
Okay.
which,
Yeah, I went back to the Historic Society and looked for any kind of images of this house. The oldest one I could find was from the 70s. And it was like what it is today, the railings are.
anyone have any questions? Mr. Beasley?
My only question is, I guess, how to figure out, this is beyond my knowledge, but how to figure out how to get the proportions right on the width of these columns
Mhm.
with your porch. I mean, I'm just having an example, they're a lot thicker, and I'm used to seeing, I mean, I guess that's an arch and crest style house, is that
Right.
I'm used to seeing the blockier columns on it, just like in the example you gave.
Yeah, we do have some brick columns underneath, and we thought we would line up that box at the bottom with those. If you can see on that one corner to the left,
Yes.
and where each column is, there is a brick pillar underneath it.
So this is just a Photoshop of you trying to
Yeah.
just show what a square
Give
column
you,
would like
yeah,
to
what it
around.
would look like.
Because I think to get the right look, you'd have to make them more like this
Right.
in terms of size, but I don't know how you could go about determining what the correct proportion is.
That's how houses all over the board. Sometimes they do the really big chunky ones that are all the way from the floor down. Sometimes they're 3/4 and sometimes they're actually 1/4. But most of the time, they go with that style.
Is your woodwork up on the dormer, is it thicker like this also, or is it
It is,
at the top that we can't
oh
see?
yeah, it's the same as what's there at the bottom of the roof. So it's not thicker, it's not a thicker roof.
So probably this kind of proportion would be too much, but what you got is too little.
Okay.
Would you, I mean, I don't know, I'm just looking at it.
Well, I think Andrew's comment, you see
Right.
different things.
Right.
And what the guidelines, the reason for the questions, the guidelines say, you know, what is typical for that structure, that style of structure. And again,
Do you have any indication, I mean, do you think these are the original columns? Do you think these have been placed in later? Are there any ghost marks at the top of the cornice there?
You know, it's a 102-year-old house, so it's kind of hard to tell
Right.
how, but I know that's what was there in the 70s.
And you've got you saw in the corner, there's a square brick pillar there?
Yes.
Is there a brick pillar under each column?
Yes.
Are they all the same size?
Yes, they were, because I was just under there.
So you can, I guess by looking at this, you can see that they're significantly bigger than the column. Now, that looks like,
Right.
to me, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in this illustration, so yeah, we can make them exactly of that brick column that's underneath, so it looks like it goes straight through.
It would seem to me that if you're looking at the elevation, it would be that wide. But if you're standing on those steps looking to the left, it would have to be narrow, otherwise it's gonna overhang the edge of the porch.
Because they've got to tie into that top
Right.
piece up there. And
Yep.
Which I don't mind, but it's just an observation. You know, on the house that I live in, it also does not have a rail. It formerly had a rail. You know, it used to have a rail. But it was only about 2 feet 4 inches tall, which wouldn't meet current code. And I could tell how tall, because they painted the rail and you could see the outline of it on the brick. So I think by raising that railing up to a height that meets current code, the proportions, the traditional proportions are not gonna be exactly right, but I think you have to do what you have to do.
Byron, do you have any suggestions or?
No, I mean, I was just throwing that out there that I think that's gonna be important to the look of your house, but I don't know how you determine, I don't know how you make that call.
It's interesting to me interesting to me that the steps aren't centered on the door, and so,
Yeah.
and they're not centered on the porch, and
Yeah, we can't figure that one out.
May I make a suggestion, just as submitted and leave it to the discretion to try to match up as appropriately as possible.
Yeah, I think so.
Any other comments? If, hearing none, what I'd like to do is make a motion that the COA be approved as submitted. Wooden rails, wooden balusters, try to use your discretion to match up the dimensions with the bottom columns to where, which is traditional for that style of home, with the columns. Squaring the round, taking the round into the square. And then the colors are all gonna be as submitted.
Right.
Are you gonna purchase the columns pre-made, or are you gonna have a carpenter do them?
We have a carpenter's doing it.
Are you just gonna encase these columns, or are you gonna remove them and?
We are going to cut into them to see what's underneath. And if there is a structural support there, we'll take them apart and redo them.
Or you think there's like a rod or something inside them on it?
Yeah, we seem to think there's either a 6x6 or something in there.
Yeah, a lot easier job if that's true.
Yeah.
Because, you know, columns typically are the same diameter up to about 1/3 of the height of them, and then they begin to taper in.
Yeah.
And getting that shim would be, well, I mean, it's not, it's just there aren't too many good carpenters around anymore.
Mr. Neese?
It looks to me like these columns at some point were just arbitrarily added in, to be honest with you.
I think you're right.
This is, and to be honest, I think that what you're doing is bringing it back to what its original style was. So by that, I would go with his first motion. If I could go and make a motion to accept.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second, roll call please.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Giesler?
Aye.
Mr. Neese?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye. Sorry about all the questions, but I mean, it's trying to get as close to that style
Oh, yeah.
as it can, but just, I wanna echo what Mr. Neese stated. That's going back to the original style, and it's gonna be a vast improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. It'll look good.
You look good, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Bundy,
Yes.
for Mr. Hop.
Yes. Heard the town's been busy up here today. Anyway. We've got a couple small changes to what we submitted. Nothing that's gonna, I don't think would change anything. Yes, the grids on the doors are the grids on the doors are gonna be removed, and windows are raised up until they run up all the way across with the parapet wall. We tried some changes to the parapet wall, but we just couldn't make a dent in it, really. It was too much of it, and if you do anything, even tear it down, you just end up with a worse looking building. Because then it goes into, you know, the 60s auto parts thing that it originally was. So what we're going to do is go with, essentially, we're buying new Marvin windows, which are just going to be sashes, sashes, not whole windows. And that way we can get a lot thinner mullions, and we're going to install them on the same angles that you've got on the plan, and put two doors on the left side, which are already there, and then come over to the right side and add two new doors. And the right side, well, it won't matter to y'all, but the right side will be completely handicapped, and the left side maybe. Depends on how they want to do the locking arrangement. All the colors will really be the same.
As presented,
Yes, we're gonna use Marvin solid wood white oak windows and with mullions in between the glass and on the outside of the glass. So and that's really,
I have a question, but,
Yeah.
When,
I'm sure, sure.
when the drawing was originally done, the upper mullion was in the same elevation with the top of the doors. And on the drawing that you just brought us, it is on the left-hand side, but not on the right-hand side. Is there a reason for that? Or just a drafting error? See, this one dips down and then back up?
Well, that's actually going, yeah, back in, and it's, the reason it's like that is to keep all of these windows the same size. And then, so the transom window, so to speak, is what would need changing.
So these doors are special heights? Or-
No, they're there.
Okay.
These doors are there, these are new ones. And actually, these are all new doors, because they're gonna be all glass over there too. And right now, they're not.
So I guess the answer is that if this lined up, that would be a special height door.
Yeah, or we can change the window height. So that it wouldn't, you know, you just use a straight 7-foot door. And,
I don't know anybody would notice it, but
yeah, well, you did.
well, but the question is, we had some pictures of what used to be
Yeah,
there several years ago.
1948,
Yeah.
before the fire.
And then, yeah, before
Or
the
during the
fire,
fire.
before the fire.
Yeah,
And, you know what the regs say, or, you know, try to replicate as close as you can.
that was what
there,
we did,
so-
actually.
Correct. So, working with this, and I understand that.
Yeah, it's all,
Yeah, that's kind of the hand you were dealt, as to whether or not the height was actually parallel across, or, you know, if that was acceptable. I don't know the answer, you know, to that without
and on
looking
the,
back.
this was one door, and it was over here, and there was a big plaque over top of it that was the sign. And that's why all that's in it. So we're trying not to change it anymore, we had to.
You're trying to match it up with what the historical picture was on it anyway, wasn't you?
Well, we tried to do the doors and windows and the storefront construction with what that 1948 picture was. But the rest of it, we kind of left alone. We modified these brackets, and it just didn't, for all the work, it didn't make any difference. We didn't take a half inch off of it.
that was 1948.
No, this was
Yeah.
whenever Mr. Root came in, prior to buying the building.
Yeah.
And just wanted to have a discussion. He had a couple pictures.
Yeah,
So,
this was his idea, really, so.
Well, when we talked about it, that top was such a mess to deal with.
It is, but at the same time, if you imagine that building down low like that, it would really not look right, so.
Yeah,
It really, I think, looks better like this than it does.
yeah.
You might could have toned it down a little bit more, but it's still, I think, that by being as tall as it is, I think it's really an asset to the building.
When I was in high school, I didn't have sense enough to know that if Bob Ferguson was in his office on Saturday, he didn't have time for me. But I'd go by there every time I saw his lights on, and he was really, the layout of that work is kind of a contemporary takeoff on the brackets that are on the courthouse.
Yeah, so you told me.
And he really got a kick out of himself for for that, and I think I like it.
I do too. We rounded one off, like when you're drawing at it, but it, like I said, it really didn't make any difference, I'm not sure. That worst angle right here, we could really just take about a half inch off of it, so it really didn't, for all the work we were doing, it didn't change anything.
No. Any comments?
So all these windows and the transom up above, it's gonna have an actual wood separation between each pane on the exterior?
No, well, I think if you're asking what I think you are, no, it's not gonna be divided, true divided lights. There's gonna be a wood mullion on the front, and a wood mullion on the back, and a wood mullion, I think it's wood, in the middle, in between the panes. I've got a picture of it, how about that?
Is this gonna be a thing you put on the front to look like it's that?
It's a good product.
Yeah, you're essentially right, but it's really well done. It's not something that just looks like it's stuck on there.
I'm suspicious.
You could actually, even if you were walking on the sidewalk, you wouldn't know that it's not true divided light.
And it
Cuts down on the labor considerably.
but by using the, just buying sashes instead of buying windows, we can keep them really thin to
Is that this distinction you're making between a sash and a window?
yeah, let's see.
You're not buying the window frame, you're just buying the
Here's
sash.
the,
It's a simulated light section.
right here's what we're talking about is simulated divided light with spacer bar. That's this bar that's in between the glass panes. They both have, and the mullions are
Permanently
attached.
attached.
So they're permanently attached?
Yeah. So it's not something that is cheap and falls off and all that. Here's the sash right here. And here's the window frame. See, we're not gonna buy the window frame, we're just gonna put the sashes in. Custom trim work made there that'll be a lot more like they did it when they built that.
It kind of sandwiches the glass, doesn't it? Is that what you're saying?
What?
The wood actually just kind of sandwiches the glass and simulates true divided light.
Yes,
Okay.
and it's adhered to it with some kind of adhesive that doesn't ever come off, so.
It's permanently attached.
Yeah, you can't take it off.
And then will all that be painted white?
Yeah, no, it's painted that, mauve right now unless we change our mind, in which case we'll be back.
Yeah.
What color is it?
And by the way,
What color is that?
I don't know, some kind of tan.
Is it gray or?
It matches the top.
Yeah. But we're a long ways from painting, so we'll probably come back with a paint swab anyway. And, Connie loved that drawing, that photograph of the wood window, and I've got them already drawn up, we're getting ready to submit that.
Okay, great.
They really liked that, so anyway.
That was another question, but after we finish here. Any questions on the COA as submitted?
Does the size of the building allow you to swing the doors inward?
Well, we're dividing the building into two separate buildings, so I think we'll fall under the 50 people rule, but we haven't addressed that at all.
Okay.
What materials are your doors?
They're just wood with glass, with panels in them. We're adding so much more glass to the front of the building, it's gonna be really nice.
Wood frame, wood doors, simulated divided light. And I'm going to go ahead and specify painted match. And the existing grade is there, but we can make a paint swap before.
And then dark windows, this is still gonna extend out as far as they can, right?
Yeah.
And those should be all the way down the sidewalk. Do they go all the way to the sidewalk?
So we'll start out on the sidewalk and work our way around.
If you're gonna take this all the way down, so.
From the side, we're not gonna do anything to the side.
so I mean, from the side, this will protrude out just as far as those box
Yeah.
windows do.
Yeah. Which I think is what is the
Yeah.
detail.
And the difference is, of course, they start back immediately too, you know.
Did you say you're gonna, I mean, is this gonna, this cornice is gonna still extend out the same distance
Yeah.
it does now? You're not gonna shorten it? What about the windows down the side?
They're just gonna stay like they are.
Anything else? Entertain a motion to approve the COA as submitted. Doors are gonna be wood, white oak windows, mullions, inside and out. They're gonna be simulated divided light, permanently attached, painted gray, paint swatch to be submitted. Accurate?
Accurate.
Have a, motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Weaver? Mr. Easley?
Aye.
Mr. Neese? Mr. Johnson?
Aye. I was hoping you could do something with the top.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's the whole secret to the building. Plus, if you think about it, if you did something to that top, that building wouldn't look right.
This stays,
But,
this stays.
yeah, actually, and I'll send you a record copy.
That top is about 50 years old too, so.
Yeah, yeah, it's got some damage. Up here in this corner right here. A flat roof behind it.
Yeah.
You see, that roof is not inky back or.
Okay.
It's just got a flat roof and it's not very high, really. That parapet wall about 6 feet high.
Okay. The next, next item on the agenda,
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Mr. Cornell.
Sorry I came here breathing germs all over you.
Now you tell us.
You would've met me in the parking lot, you knew how bad I felt right now.
There you go, Jeff.
Good fight.
Huh? A little bit.
Tell us a little bit about, I've got a couple different things. You've got your porches, excuse me, drainage in the side parking area, and reworking one of the porches
Yeah.
and steps. Basically 4 different areas.
Yes.
Okay. First one was the porch.
Front porch, yes.
Yes, sir.
Do you have that picture of the old thing that was on it? There was an existing, so in the top right, you see the old. If you look at the building, there was an existing old header where it did have a front porch on the building at some point, back when it was originally built. Which some of those pictures, you can see where the old header was attached. The thing that was on it on the top right was not the original way it was built. So I would like to put a front porch on it. That would go the whole length of the front of the building.
How far out are you?
Like 6 feet.
6 feet?
Yeah. And a lot of the houses on Valley, they have the same kind of hip roof.
You don't have any pictures of what the cover used to look like?
No, I went to the historical deal, not helpful as far as, we went through a lot trying to find a bunch of pictures, did not have any luck, spent quite a bit of time down there. And some of the pictures of the side of the building, I don't know if you could see, no. That over there. You can see like here, this is, so what this is where the joist, the floor joist come out to the exterior of the building. And these are the old mortar lines where they weren't able to clean it off, so there's a board attached to the outside that then they run their porch joists on.
Does it look like it goes all the way across the front?
Yes, it did go all the way across the front, this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
There's also, and then kind of paint with that, the drainage is an issue around there, where you can see where it's settled quite a bit, all that drainage stuff they've done at some point. So it'd kind of be attacking both of those issues, trying to make the drainage better, keep the water away, and I'd have to tear up that old concrete anyway. So I was just gonna pour a concrete, patio. Extend it 6 feet, length of the building, hipped roof, it would be a similar match to the pitch of the existing roof.
And I think you had a standing seam roof.
Yeah, so I would like to put a black standing seam metal roof on the porch, and then next year, put a standing seam roof on the house to match it. That's what I'd like to do. It's gonna need a roof. It's not leaking now, but it's definitely old.
Is there any guttering?
Yes,
on
there is guttering around the whole upper story, like a 6-inch
Yeah,
gutter.
on the porch, would you have any? With 6 feet, I'm not sure.
Yes, I would. I would get so the idea is to get the water around the left side of the house and back into, that's where it's naturally going, and they have some drainage, existing drainage there. And you can see that temporary gutter is pulled away from the house on that top left picture.
Mhm.
So when I rework that concrete, it'll be, I'll make a drain, bury a drain and tie in the gutter for the porch and that corner gutter there, and move it around the left of the house.
What type, if you put guttering on the front porch, what type of guttering? Round or?
I can do the round. I can definitely do the round on the gutter. What's there is not the round. It's like that 6-inch standard guttering. What's it called? OG.
Like a box?
Yes. Yes.
So, I mean, from this picture, it looks like there's like a smooth area all the way from the bottom of the window all the way down. I mean, are you thinking it's gonna be that big?
No, so I would like to make it much, so yes, yes, good observation. So it is smoother there. I would,
I mean, I see your
just a
drawing.
rough sketch, yeah,
But if it-
lower profile.
But is this what's gonna stick out 6 feet from the building?
Probably like a 312 pitch on it.
But you want it to be much,
It won't go up to.
so but
under
it's not gonna be the same pitch as this roof then?
That's maybe, it's a 3 or 412. It will be close. It's gonna be 2 feet of rise.
Is it the same pitch to the front, to the side, or is it?
I think so, yeah, I think it is. So it'll be a 2 foot, it'll drop 2 feet total from the back to the front. Yeah,
So there's a good example.
perfect.
Because your house is an American Foursquare, now they've got a higher pitched hip roof here,
Uh-huh.
but this one sheds off, but it's still kind of hipped
Yes.
on either side, so you can make it more shallow there, and it
Yes.
actually would flow well with the way the house,
Yes,
with
I
that
like that.
style.
Correct.
Are you putting columns on it also or not?
Yes. there
Oh,
will
you
be.
are, okay,
There will be.
okay, that's what, I didn't understand that.
Okay, yeah, there will be columns on it.
You'll have to.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
thinking how you're gonna keep that to stay up there, that's what I was thinking.
Probably 4, and I could do, okay.
That's what I was worried about. Because it's this drawing just looked like it was gonna be like
Yeah,
those attached to the building. I thought,
Yes,
well, that's
no,
So
no,
you
but
need to
yeah.
address the columns on it.
Yes, columns, I can make them whatever, they need to be. They can be wood. The trim, the fascia, there's not much above because the guttering's covering it, but, I'll do as much as I could to match the, same kind of fascia and soffit that they have on the house. gutter kinda covers the whole thing.
What do you have in mind for the columns, just?
So,
plain?
I would probably do metal, if, I would do like a 6x6 or a 5x5 squared metal, post, and paint it black. But, or white, like I say, it's not, I guess that's what I could propose. The front door, I'd like to do black as well.
Your windows are all white trim, right?
Correct.
And your soffit on the building's white, right?
Yes. I could do white posts and black door.
I think that would.
You like that?
Let's make it stand out.
Okay.
Is there a way you can get us a plan of what the columns and the,
I can.
What
I
the-
kinda didn't wanna go too far if y'all were against the whole porch idea, but that was what I wanted to,
No, I mean, it's gonna add.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought so.
I think the concept's great, I think we need to see the details. though.
Yeah, I can do a more detailed, a detailed post front porch drawing for sure.
I'm sorry to admit this, but I don't know if this committee follows what DHR prefers for columns. And I'll just throw this out there. DHR says that unless you've got a photograph of what a column specifically looked like, then if you're going to do something, and if you had a photograph of what that building looked years ago and you could tell what the column looked like, then you could replicate that. But if you don't know what the column looked like originally, then they make you do it as simple as possible.
Okay.
You know, they don't want any ornamentation, they don't want, just
I think you had really simple columns in mind anyway. didn't you?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
6x6
6 by 6
posts.
posts.
6x6 posts. Yeah, nothing,
But wood.
yeah, I can do wood, 6x6 posts wood.
So if you'll come back with more of a detail,
Yeah.
on the porch.
Will I have to resubmit it and do the whole, like, do this? Can I get the okay? I was hoping to get the okay to frame the roof. But I can temporary, and then I'll have to pour the concrete. I can temporary post the porch and submit like a 6x6, or I can just make it 6x6, 4 6x6 posts. Centered with the door and then at the corners.
So you're just gonna do a slab on grade, there won't be any foundation shown?
Correct.
Okay.
Any concerns with just doing 4 6x6 wood posts centered on the door and then on the corners?
Paint them white.
Okay. All right.
The only thing I'm curious about is, like, what if anything is going to be, you know, are you gonna have any kind of woodwork like this that extends below
No,
the gutter that the columns come into?
I guess I was thinking just match the top, which is pretty much the gutter. The gutter is covered. There's really nothing ornamental on the original.
So it would
building.
just be you'd see the metal roof, and there'd be a gutter, and there'd be a column going up to hold it, so there's not gonna be any woodwork or.
Nothing.
Really not gonna be any facial.
No, the face will be covered by the gutter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that'll be matching the upper story.
And you're gonna put a hip roof on the end of it?
Correct.
And is it going to, is any of the roof going to extend beyond the vertical of the house, or is it going to,
No.
the tip's going to end out there at?
Flush with the house.
So then what happens on that side door? I don't know why, but I kinda thought that the porch was gonna wrap around and pick up that side door on Wall Street.
Yeah, so the side door, it's kind of, the place needs the parking more than, and I kind of want to get more the people using that front door. That side door is basically screwed shut, and nobody ever used it.
I see.
Probably did when it was a residence, but when you look at the grounds, what I kind of wanted to do is just make that whole side, be parking and cleaned up against the edge of the house. Kind of establish a front yard and keep traffic going through that front door.
So the way I broke everything down was basically 4 different issues like we talked about. So
Okay.
on the front, we've got a concrete sidewall, concrete porch that actually is gonna wrap around to your drainage area in between you and Hub.
Yes.
Okay. The porch extends 6 feet out from the house, is gonna be supported by 4 6x6 wooden posts.
Yes.
Painted white. The guttering on the porch is gonna be half-round guttering.
Yes.
Trim's gonna be painted white. The roofing on the porch is gonna be standing seam, no black, no striations.
Yes.
Okay. Does that take care of the front?
Yes.
Okay, your drainage, anyone have any questions on the front? The drainage, on the side, and I took that to be on the side between you and Highlands Union?
Correct.
Okay. You're tearing up the concrete pad that is there existing and then just repouring?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's standing water under that existing slab when it rains.
And that's coming from?
Just rain, a bad, just hasn't been kept up.
Cracks in?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, that's the side drainage, just removing and replacing with concrete. Your side parking area, you've got remove a small retaining wall to extend the parking area.
Yeah, right there.
I had trouble figuring out the retaining wall.
Yeah, and if it's a retaining wall or if it's just some rocks in the
I
grass.
thought that was one block that somebody just put there,
You're probably more right.
something.
It is a change, a slight change of elevation, probably 18 inches or so change of elevation, but I'd kind of like to smooth that whole area out and get gravel through there instead of that kind of trip hazard, really.
And the gravel is pea gravel?
So
What-
they have the blue gravel there now, just like crush and run. I'm not opposed to putting pea gravel there.
Okay.
Let's say,
Section 8C.
is that what you all prefer?
Yeah, the driveways typically are pea gravel, or
Okay.
brown pea gravel.
Okay, we'll do pea gravel. And in that retaining wall, changing the direction of the steps, but that may be with your porch, porch. stand.
That's-
Yeah,
Reworking the porch
yes,
area. And I didn't, the committee may correct me, but I didn't really classify that as a retaining wall. And the
Okay.
only reason being, there's only 1 or 2 blocks there.
yeah, okay.
You know, no, it's not holding anything back, and if it's classified as a retaining wall, then you have to sit there and say, okay, was it constructed on or before 1945? You know, if it
Okay.
was, then, you know, kinda need to keep it,
Okay.
and rework it, repair it.
Yeah,
That just looks
Yeah.
like a block was left. rework the porch
Mhm.
on the back and relocate the steps
Yes,
to where they're parallel instead of perpendicular to Wall Street.
yes. That top left picture, they'll be coming down kind of where that pallet is at instead of,
Have you go back, Chase?
yeah. Yeah, right there. So like here, they'll be coming down from here instead of there.
Is there any indication that the steps look to be original in that location?
I would say not. I would say at some point they did that back addition, and a lot of things I would say changed at that point. To be honest, this side shows signs of having a porch on it as well. So I think it might have been a wraparound porch that wrapped around this side, which then they would have had, you know, they would have just walked out probably onto a porch and then walked down off of the porch. But, you know, it would have extended out a lot more. So I'd say once they demoed off the porch, and this was probably part of that.
Are you gonna redo the pickets of the porch?
Yeah, so the whole porch is in really bad shape. It needs to be, so demoed, new columns, and I was gonna do all the framing in metal and then just wood decking.
What are your columns? Are those 4x4s there?
Yes, 4x4 metal, cause it's a 16-foot, cause the columns actually go down to the ground, which, you can kind of see there on that bottom right picture, sideways.
They're wood right now?
I think that, yeah, they are wood. They're wood right now. Partially brick, like a brick post kind of built up thing on the bottom. Structural wise, you know, that long of a span, even, you know, the wood will warp.
When you say metal, are you talking about like doing the pickets with like a wrought iron kind of look or something like that?
Yes, yes.
Is that something you're gonna have constructed, or is it, can you buy it?
Constructed. It's fabbed up. Right on
Yeah.
there.
You're probably gonna need to see
Okay.
something on that.
Okay.
I mean, what we're kind of charged with this evening is, you know, what you submitted.
Yes.
And really didn't see anything on the pickets, the columns on the back porch, or what your plans are for that.
Yeah, do you have time to get us a plan on that before you can start on it?
Yes, I can. Can I move forward on the demolishing it? Cause,
Oh, well, these pickets would not, we would never approve that.
No.
no, yeah, you're right.
So,
I can demo it, get the thing, cause it's actually falling down kinda on the back right side.
Demoing it
So I
itself?
kinda wanna demo it and then get it at least sturdy, and then, yeah, in that time I can submit some drawings for
well, and
the new pickets and,
correct, and the porch itself, and my only reservation there would be the columns.
okay,
You know, if you have to go with, from a structural standpoint, whether it needs to be steel or, the preference is wood.
okay,
You know, but if it's a structural issue, then can we take a look at encasing the column?
okay,
So, the first issue is just the steps themselves.
Yes.
Redirecting the steps parallel with
Redirecting.
Wall Street versus perpendicular.
right,
There's no indication that the steps are original to the design, otherwise they would need to stay.
okay.
So, that being said, does anyone have any concerns? Okay. And the steps are gonna be out of wood as well. And all the paints,
It's white, and, yeah, floor's black.
that's the reason I was asking if there was any indication as to, if the configuration, if the steps were original to that side. After reading 35, it needed to stay like that. Section 35 says porch, staircases, and steps original to a property should be retained in their original location and configuration. Wood and concrete steps should be repaired with materials to match the original. If a porch wrapped around, if that was a true walk-around porch, and we don't have any pictures or anything of that nature to substantiate it, then those steps were not there, originally. The reason for removing the steps is try to gain additional parking, correct?
Correct. To the, yeah, because coming off of that, once I drop down that, get rid of the rocks and smooth out that whatever we're calling it, the retaining wall area, then those steps, they'll be extending further out, plus, a washer and dryer will be located down there, so there will be traffic coming through there, so, we'd be kind of keeping the traffic out of the parking and away from the road, and coming down that retaining wall area.
That was the reason I didn't have any problem with moving it parallel, versus perpendicular. Okay, let me recap what we've got. First of all, the porch. You're extending the front porch. We're extending 6 feet out, standing seam roof, half round guttering, concrete sidewalk, concrete porch. Concrete porch actually wraps around to the side in between you and Highlands Union for the patio right there, which you're removing and then repouring. The side parking area, you're gonna be removing the steps here, the little blocks there, extending the parking area down with pea gravel. You're gonna be taking the steps and moving those parallel to Wall Street versus perpendicular. The steps that would be wood. You're gonna come back to us, the demo's okay, but come back to us with a design for the porch and all the pickets
Okay.
right there, including the columns.
Yes.
Columns on the front porch are 6 by 6 wood.
Yes.
Okay,
So,
is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
it just occurred to me that you need to verify that if you come out 6 feet, you're still within your front yard setback.
Okay. I'll be behind, I believe. But what's
That shouldn't be an issue since the old historic district doesn't really have setback regulations. It's existing pattern, so you should be fine with that.
Okay.
But that's a good observation.
Next one.
That was an excellent observation. I appreciate that.
Okay, as summarized, is that correct?
correct.
Okay, I guess the only other thing is all the trim's gonna be painted white, and the doors black.
Yes.
Paint swatches will need to be submitted to staff to, prior to any of the painting.
Okay.
If that is correct, I'll entertain a motion as summarized.
So moved.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, Mr. Boswell.
Mr. Weaver.
Aye.
Mr. Geisler. Aye. Mr. Neese.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye. Thanks, sir.
Yeah, thank you guys very much.
Do you think he knew what he was getting into? When he put-
He may not know what he was getting into, but he's doing an
Oh, I mean,
excellent job.
it's-
I've been in a few times, and
Yeah.
he's doing everything he can to do
That's-
it right, so.
I was here when the last group, were you here when the last group built?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, that one's,
With all of that said,
I'm gonna just move down the
Turf
block a little
stone.
bit, yeah. Sorry, I'm a little sick too. Yeah, so I'm Robin Rains, I'm White Top Yoga. I'm not feeling good. So we're just looking to do a little bit of landscaping out back.
I'm sorry, this mouse
It's okay,
is
it's okay.
going crazy.
I did bring a sample of the paver just because that looks really stark, but it's not, you know, it's a pretty typical paver, so pretty simple. We're gonna approximately, you'll see my note on there, about 2.5 feet from the fence, the crush and run, and then use topsoil to plant some ground cover within the pavers and do some potted plants, so really simple. I have consulted Ben Castile with Virginia Highlands Community College on the proper installation, so we're gonna dig down. We've already hand dug too, so anyway. Questions?
no, I've installed a number of those. Those are not fun.
They look great though.
I mean, the highway departments, in particular, Florida and what have you, use them extensively for regeneration of groundwater.
Mhm.
And so, no, they're good, and they work. The only comment that I would have is, being on Plum Alley, the regulations specify, you know, try to stay 8 to 10 feet away from the applicable right-of-way line. Now, that's with hedges and things of this nature. With what you're proposing here, plants, that doesn't really, I think, pose a factor. But any questions?
Accept it as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Roll, Ms. Boswell.
Mr. Weaver? Aye. Mr. Giegler? Aye. Mr. Neese? Aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you got to sit here for an hour and 45
That's
minutes.
all right, I've never done this before, so.
Miss Elliott?
My name is Jan Reeves. I'm here for Brenda Elliott. I'm her next door neighbor, and got a request in to change the color from pink to sculpting clay. I've got some extra swatches here. Jason,
Thank you.
there you go.
All the trim's gonna stay white.
All trim is gonna stay white, and Jason had asked the question about the brick that's pink. Everything that's pink will be gray except for the brick that's close to the ground in the front, and it will be painted white to match all the other white trim.
Thank you, Jan.
It's gonna look nice.
Yeah. I don't know why you don't like, why she doesn't like pink though.
Everything was yellow some time ago, and
Correct, it was.
Well, they have it for sale there in Apalachicola living, so, and I think they decided that it's harder to sell a pink house, I think. So,
I like it too, but I mean, I think the proposed color is very nice.
It always made it easy for me to tell people how to find my house.
Yeah, one of the aspects that I noticed on the application is they didn't apply for any tax credits on this.
Well, if they apply, I would think that they would want that, because that would be transferable to
The
the new owners, which would be a nice,
And they paid $50.
if they did, and I'll be more than happy to pay this evening for them.
I think they did. This was a lengthy packet. I have to check and see if they did or if they didn't, but I don't have an issue with
It's an excellent program, and Ms. Reeves, you may be familiar with it. The threshold's $2,500, but after you meet it, it's dollar for dollar up to $25,000. And town council is to be commended for that.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it from our roof.
That's. Entertain a motion to approve as submitted.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Geisler? Aye. Mr. Neese? Aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye. Sorry you had to sit here.
You have a nice evening, gentlemen.
You too.
All right, you too.
Thanks for your help.
Mr. Boswell.
My turn.
Yeah.
Sure. You want me to get up there, or can I do it from here, Mr. Chairman?
You fine?
Wanted you, the board, to take a look at the proposed stabilization of the Fields Pen house. We contracted with Bundy A&E to draft an RFP and a design for plans to stabilize. Micropiles will be placed spaced 5 foot apart along the entire 2-story structure, and a tie rod system is proposed to be installed along with the micropiles.
And I asked before the meeting, Mr. Boswell, actually, you just want the board to be aware, because I'm really not sure all of this work is gonna be interior relative to the foundation.
Yeah, the only thing that
So-
you're really gonna see is you'll see some of the tie rods
Tie rods.
sticking out from the side, and Mr. Weaver's probably more familiar with that type of thing than I am. I can't imagine that you'll see a whole lot of it, but there will be some of it, if that's visible.
Okay.
But again, we've been in close contact with DHR. DHR couldn't be more happy with the way we're trying to proceed with this.
So I guess my question is whether or not there's really any action that the board needs to take other than just exposed tie rod and plates that may be visible from the exterior.
Well, you see that on all kinds of old buildings.
Correct.
So,
So I'm really not sure there's anything
Yeah,
within the
the only
guidelines.
thing that I saw was section 15, and I just, since Mr. Doom was still here and he was actively involved in this project, I wanted to get it involved before we did anything with the house.
Are the plates gonna be any kind of decorative plates, you know, like you see stars or sometimes, or, I mean, is that what you're talking about?
I don't think that Bundy has gone into that much detail on the drawings, so.
I mean, this begs the question, do you anticipate any foundation brick repair on the exterior? Once the stabilization, they're gonna have to jack it up, aren't they?
I don't think that they're proposing to jack it up.
So they're just trying to stabilize where it is?
Yes.
Okay. So in essence, there won't be any foundation repair that will be seen exterior?
I hope not, but if there would be, we will definitely follow DHR guidelines, Department of Interior
Okay.
guidelines.
So that lintel on the front right is gonna continue to look the way it does now? It won't be raised up?
We've had several different contractors take a look at this thing, and there's fear that if nobody really wants to touch it, we've bid it, and we haven't received any bids currently. People are having issues wanting to deal with it.
They're trying to stabilize it, but I mean, one of the aspects, that's a swampy area.
Well, we're also going to address the drainage issue.
Okay, that's the
Yeah,
the culprit.
Definitely going to
That-
address the drainage issue and stabilize it at the same time.
Okay.
So all that will be done hopefully within the next 6 to 8 weeks.
Do you know how these work? Can you kind of explain it?
Well, I don't really know how the micropiles work. I've done piling before, but it's always been steel pile. And I guess these are steel also, but they just drive them down into the soil. How that,
And attach it to the underpinning that's there. I guess they're driving it down to bedrock, 30 foot or so, and attaching it to the existing underpinning.
Driving it down to the cave with Ethan.
Yeah, well, I think right before you get there. And then, and then, of course, build the tie rod. The problem is the contractors that have shown interest, they haven't bid on it. Bundy is gonna pre-contact, nobody wants to do the tie rod part of it. I haven't talked to any of the contractors, but that's what I was told today when Bundy came in, is that they had
So you're
some
trying to
interest on
use
the pipe
local?
pile. Well, that's what we're gonna try to do, we're gonna try to call a few local companies and see if we can.
Well, I know that, Burwell did the tie rods on Barter's old building over by the Barter Inn, the one where they rehearse. I don't know what they call that building. But it has tie rods on the back of it that Burwell did.
Okay.
So they know how to do that. If you have to go beyond here, there's a structural engineer named David Linton, I think he's in Stanton. And he does a lot of work with, I mean, he would probably know a contractor that would look at it.
You have information?
Yeah, but they would have to come from, Charlottesville area or Stanton area.
The mobilization would be good, but.
Where it could buy.
In that, there's not anticipated at this time any exterior foundation repairs. Two things. One, thank you for presenting this, because we do want to be apprised. However, I don't see anything that really requires the board's action, unless I'm missing something that the other members may see.
Just wanted you all to take a look at it.
Okay.
And wanted you to be aware, hopefully within the next. We hope to get it in front of council. We were anticipating at the next work session, which would be May 14th. That's probably not gonna happen. So probably June 3rd, sometime after June 3rd.
Okay. Once again, I do appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
The next item on the agenda is actually a COA that I submitted. As such, I will need to recuse myself, and Mr. Neese will be, as vice chairman, will be conducting the meeting. I can step up and then show you all. Sounds bad, I didn't even bring the application. That's a picture of the house that was taken back, as best we can tell, 1895. Stephen Alonzo Jackson, I think, which was Chi Phi. It's one of the founders of the fraternity. This was his residence. It's now mine. A couple issues, or some of the things that I wanted to point out. We now have 3 railings along with the bottom landing area.
I'll get to it, Mr. Johnson.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know what is going on with this map.
Tell me again why really anyone wants to own an older home. You've got 3 railings. This center rail, the house at one time was a B&B. So for code provisions, they needed to install the center rail. The original structure did not have it. We would like to remove it, would like to have permission to remove it at some point within the next year, and then just fill in. You've got a post at the base and a post at the top, at which we would have to replace the decking on it. But otherwise, this was as the house was in 1895. One of the things that's interesting is this back corner. All of the kitchens on the older homes used to be on the back. I don't know if that's an old smokehouse or what the situation is. But obviously that's no longer there. This was bricked in at this time. At some point, and I haven't found a picture, but the bay window was removed, and then later on, I think whenever Mr. Buchanan and Mr. Epling bought the house, the bay window was put back on. This is wood that extends all the way down to the ground now. I remember seeing at some point, the upstairs, I think, was rented out. You had steps that came down across the front, and Church Street used to be gravel and dirt, and cars would park on Church Street for the residents that lived upstairs. But we would like at some point to remove the center rail, which kind of opens up then the front. The rest of really what is submitted is maintenance on it. It's just the volume of maintenance. That's and the tax credits that I wanted to present to the board. As you all are aware, the brick is baked brick. It's not kiln dry, and as such, it's the porosity. You have to use lime-based mortar. The company that I found, and I asked Mark Goodman, and I'm certainly open to suggestions, is a company called Lime Works, which specializes in mortar for older historic homes. I haven't gotten a bag yet or anything of this nature. I wanted to present to the board and then, you know, get your all's go ahead. But that's just a chart that will try to match up the grout on it and the mortar.
If you want an expert opinion on it, I can give you Mike Pulis's number. He is a brick expert at DHR.
I mean,
He would be more than happy to give you any
that
advice.
sounds good, because what we're gonna have to do is, what we're asking for is we have to go back in and repoint. We have to replace some of the brick. There are a couple photos, if you'll scroll up.
I believe he said that if you've got a chunk of that mortar, that you can send it to them, and they'll match it.
They'll do an analysis.
They'll do a recipe and match it.
Okay. Some of the areas, you can see right here, where people have gone in over time and replaced the mortar with cement-based Portland. You know, areas of this nature, we would like to try to pull out, and then this is the original. You can see all of this. Try to go back, you know, with the lime-based. Areas like this, you know, are areas that, you know, need attention, if you'll go on up. We have a couple. Whenever we bought the house, there were problems with the gutter. This is the front left. If I'm on Church, if I'm on Main Street looking at the house, that's the front right corner. The guttering had a hole in it up the top, right where it 90s towards the house, and every rain would literally just spray the house. So you would have water come all the way down. You have a certain amount of the brick that are broken and deteriorated there that need to be replaced. There's a picture, if you'll scroll one more, I think. Here's just repointing. Mr. Neese pointed out earlier, you know, gosh, you've got a lot of that to do, don't you? Thank you, Andrew. Yes, we do. We can't do all of it. The budget doesn't allow it. But we have certain areas, you know, right around here, right around the windows, to where things have been patched before that, you know, we want to try to fix properly. You know, again, we'll try to, the Church Street side is the first side, and then we'll, you know, just try to go from there as the budget will allow. Well, we've got this picture pulled up, again on the Church Street. These windows, the wood frames right here are all rotten down at the base. This is Lexan that is put on over the windows. I never really knew why that was there until I was sitting downstairs in the middle of winter watching TV, and a snow truck went by, a plow. Snow and ice hit that. I thought somebody hit the house. Without that protection, they would have busted every window there. So what we're advocating is do the wood repairs here, but then frame in full view wood frame, what amounts to a storm window, but with safety glass. Tom McIntyre can make this for me. He's already measured, and that will look 10 times better than, there's another photo of my daughter's bedroom. I don't know if that's before or after.
This, I don't know what's wrong with this mouse, but every when I touch it, it just wants to.
Right there. That's actually a good photo. In ordinary light and what have you, that's just the angle. That is the clouded up and whatever that you can't see. Which, again, my daughter's bedroom, I kind of like that. But what we would do here would be frame in just, again, a full view window safety glass to protect what's there. And it would look 10 times better. We've got to come up to the window sill right above and try to do some wood putty repair. At some point, I would like to replace the triple pane windows, sash, and everything. They're not operable right now. They have nails, dowels, everything else driven into them to where they're not operable. But you kind of have to prioritize. You know, if you'll go on to the next slides, right here, that's the bay window. All we are talking about right now is replacing the rotten wood, either with red grandis or another hardy wood. I'd like to use the red grandis, but I haven't gotten a quote on it. Red grandis, I included a little description, and you all may be familiar with it. It's what Rick Humphreys used on his renovation, and you can't use treated or anything of that nature. You can't paint it, but want something that's going to last for a while. But all of this, there are no drip edges. There's no nothing, and you can take a knife and just stick down in it. The next picture, well, and you'll actually, the side seal here again is so soft. The paint's peeling from moisture getting in behind it. The base is the one area that I'm asking that we do change. That's another picture of the side from Church Street right there. The wood is on the ground. What we would like to do is, and I actually brought, I have a couple of the older brick that came, that were at the house that I'm going to use to do the side repairs. The brick, whenever we did the project in 2013 relative to the chimney, we had General Shell come out and try to match up the brick here, presented it to the board, and the board approved it. I still have a pallet of that. I would like to use 2 courses just right along the base. Everything's going to be hidden by landscaping, but I don't want any wood on the ground. We'll have to pour just a small footer, come up with the brick, and then have the wood come down. That will be the only thing that will be different from what you see here. Everything else, we're not asking to change the facade or anything of this nature. It's just we've got to do something. It's rotten. The rest is repainting. You've got the front railing. Jason, if you'll scroll. All right, the bottom railing down there, there's another picture of it, is rotten. You know, water has, right there, looks like it was painted whenever it was wet. You know, so we're just talking about replacing the top railing there. The post tops, all of this Tom McIntyre is gonna help me with, you know, but right there, we're going back with exactly the same thing. It's just a maintenance issue that we've got to repair. Some of the spindles and valves, a lot of these are fine. They're not rotten. The problem is you've got 3 and 4 coats of paint on them that anytime there was a problem, say paint started chipping here, well, they just repainted it. You know, so literally, this is what you get.
Alligator.
Oh,
Yeah.
so what we've got to do is take, put a tarp down, take a piece of sandpaper, and then just try to sand each one, and try to pull the paint off, and then just repaint. I have, again, Tom McIntyre, whenever in 2013, we replaced some of the spindles along the front railing. I have some of those still. He had all the knives and what have you. A lot of them are good. There may be 1 or 2 that are rotten at the base. If there are, then we'll replace those, but the plan is just to try to sand those down and repaint them.
Does he install or does he just fabricate?
He just builds.
Okay.
We had John Michael do the prior installation for me, and to be honest with you, I don't know who will do this, either John or may get Cody Ryan. But the rest of these pictures, we've been in the house 6 years, and it's just getting time now to where we have to go back. All the fascia, the soffit, it needs to be painted. Going back with the same color, white. I submitted swatches. That's a Sherwin-Williams paint. You know, you can tell here that's on the Goodman side, Goodman Jewelers side. You know, that just needs to be scraped and sanded and then repainted. And that, I don't know what needs to be done with. But we like the house. It's just, you feel like you're chasing your tail sometimes. We're asking for all of these to be approved. I'm not sure, again, we're gonna have to prioritize, and, you know, obviously it's repointing the brick, you know, because of water issues, further deterioration. Then the bay window with painting and some of this. I may be back before the board in a year on items that we haven't gotten to, asking for, you know, approval or consideration again.
Administratively, we can give you an extension in good faith that you're doing the work, Mr. Johnson. So,
Well, we're trying. One's going to med school and one's in college right now. So that limits what goes here. Any questions or?
Do y'all have any questions for Mr. Johnson? All right, so I guess I'm just gonna recap everything that you've got. You're looking to repoint brick with limestone mortar, and along with replacing the damaged brick with brick left over from the prior improvement, which you brought a sample of. Replacement of the exterior Lexon protective sheets. I've wrote on here storm window type setup with safety glass. Adjacent to Church Street, obviously, with the wood frame full. Repair bay window rotten wood with either pine or red grandis. All of this, obviously, just submit materials.
Yes, sir.
Pour small footer at the base of the bay window and lay approximately 2 courses of runs of brick to grade level, then proceed with wood above in order to keep wood off the ground. Seeing as how that was brick before, I think that kind of complies. Possible removal of center railing on front steps. The pic shows without railings is what I've noted on here. From what year was that?
1895.
Yeah, didn't show that railing in the middle. Pair or paint railings and spindles on front, side porches, and use extra white exterior paint. Submit a sample on that. Repaint existing deck with rockwood terracotta. I don't think you got to that one.
No, sir, I've got swatches here.
Okay.
I'll reference the numbers. Let me put my glasses back on. These are just Sherwin-Williams.
Okay.
Haynes.
What's on it right now? Same color?
That's the color.
Okay.
We're just going back with the same color, and the extra white is just the Sherwin-Williams.
Okay.
Those two there. That's just the decking, which is there, and that's the trim.
All right, so then we're painting the soffit fascia trim with the extra white you just showed us there, and then you added in replace railings and post tops with exact type as they are, because they're rotten,
Yes, sir.
like for like. To make a motion, anybody to?
I move that we approve, we grant the certificate of appropriateness.
Second. Wow, second. Roll call, Mr. Boswell.
Mr. Weaver,
Aye.
Mr. Geisler,
Aye.
and Mr. Neese.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
That is the last item on,
No.
no, we got a tax credit. Excuse me.
Handing this back to Mr. Johnson.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Thank you for hanging in.
Thank you. We have a tax credit approval.
Yeah, for the COA that was granted in February.
Yes, sir. Mr. Boswell, will you,
Yes,
now
sir.
the amount submitted,
Yes, sir. We have all the receipts for all the work that was approved in the COA in February, for a grand total of $32,264.11. And it will be credited, Mr. Brewer will be credited, the max of $25,000 if approved.
okay? Staff has already verified that the work has been done, the receipts are valid. I'll entertain a motion to forward this on to the town manager for their review and approval. And if approved, then on to the town treasurer to issue the credit.
So moved.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second, Mr. Boswell.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Geisler?
Aye.
Mr. Neese?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye. Thank you, sir, sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you.
sir.
It was worth the wait.
Yeah.
There are no discussion items listed on the agenda. Any other business matters that the committee is aware of that needs to be discussed, presented? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Get a motion and a second, roll call, please.
Mr. Weaver? Mr. Geisler? Mr. Neese? Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Thank you,
decide
gentlemen.
to grade for us?
Hang in there.
Great.
Hate that we're
I
losing
didn't,
that.
I mean, I was just trying to get it, it could be one course or.
It's
$1,000
Eight
for place,
inches
isn't
would be 3/4.
Something like that?
So,
I just, and everything's gonna be hidden.
There's no way to
with
repair
land.
it.
I just wanted to get it enough
and
above the
she was
landscaping
telling
where the
about
wood
leaks.
Yeah.
hidden on the ground.
They just, she said,
Because
just came
I don't even
forward
think,
to
well,
put it on there, it's
that
just a
wouldn't
guest
trigger.
house for a family.
um,
As bad as they kept it as long as.
we like the
possible.
house and you're inside the house. And look at the roof
But
trusses.
I'm sure that it'll be
This is
the.
not 32 by 10. But you go outside.
This is, I will say that this is
Yeah,
Mr.
try to keep
Benham's
up.
last HPRB meeting.
Oh.
And I'm unofficial.
He's unofficial now, since Mr. Moraney started on Monday, but I do wanna, thank Mr. Benham for all this.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
Thank you very much for your guys.
He is a class act.
I appreciate it. I appreciate him wanting to work on some of the historic buildings of town here. Town was in the same shape as the people who previously owned them, that they wanted to seeing salvage, but they didn't have the resources to.
Yeah, it's a tough call.
It is.
Understand that.
Well, thank you for
Yeah, thank
everything you've done for the
And
town.
I agree
trying
with
to-
what you said. I always wanted to own an old house until I watched the movie The Money Pit.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, good morning. If you'll email me your information, and they're like that. Things you have to do for it to work.
Yeah,
We
I
didn't
can
do that online,
get
but
that,
actually,
so
we used.
Send it over.
And over the years, I would just get it by the handfuls all together.
About 2 years.
Oh, really?
16 low-income housing approach. Pretty good. Got a call one morning from.
Yeah, but there's,
And
it's loose in there.
I appreciate
This
this.
is spent.
But there's like 50, there's like 10 or 12 things, bullet points that he went over, saying that you need to do to keep that from happening, and we didn't do all of them, like, one is like, you need to wet the board that's
Correct.
existing, so that it doesn't dry out too soon, you need, I mean, there's. I don't
You gotta
know.
wet it before you apply the new.
And he knows them backwards and
Virginia
forwards, and
House of
we'll make sure your guys do
First
every one.
Who's
He had
this?
a way that he sealed them, I don't know, but he, they were like, I don't remember his name, but he said the guy's name.
Between-
As far as ceiling,
It was near Woodstock.
there's two different schools.
Thank you for
thought.
bringing
One,
up the
you can get
setback thing.
A ceiling
I
that
was being
apparently
serious
still
about that. That was
less.
an excellent
brick.
observation. A lot of people miss that.
Does it not
Because
apply
it
in
has
this
to
district?
Unfortunately, you know, it doesn't.
With moisture
The
inside,
the
you know.
guidelines in the zoning
The
ordinance
brick will
says
sit
it
there
has
like a
to
sponge.
adhere to
Absorb
the
water.
established
That's what
setbacks that are already there. So, like Mr.
got
Palmer's,
all
new
that's where the
build
bridge is
here on
built
Valley Street,
because,
that's the
water
reason why
hits it.
we made him
I mean,
set
there's-
that back.
And I wouldn't use
To
any of
where
the old bricks, I mean,
the rest
not,
of the house
not any
is
ancient
he couldn't
bricks,
have
stuff. I
set
did that
forward
on
or
chimneys,
back
I
up
had them
like
incorporate the
chose,
existing bricks,
because
we
that's
have
the
with new ones.
existing
Are they
Even though I
crumbling?
used the non, the
Randy did
But it's
like
different
comment
throughout
about
the
his
state.
project.
I was watching you the whole time. I was watching you the whole time on that one. It's fine. You made a great point.
See what I'm
Mr.
talking about here?
Yeah, well, see, this is new to me.
See, this
He
is,
didn't show one shot is.
and what he said, all of this is lined up, and then this one's still done.
Oh, yeah,
And this
next time I
one
see you out
dips
on the
down and
porch.
back up again.
I drove by
And these, all these
He's
doors swing inward.
on the roof.
Just
There's
because
snow and
there's
ice
snow
everywhere.
I was like,
Yeah.
Henry, I
It's
don't know.
And he's just walking around.
Swing out.
I actually pulled over and I'm going, what are you doing? Like, and he said, oh,
Yeah, this is.
the gutter was frozen or something of that nature. I'm going, ah, dear God.
I got there blowing the gutters out.
I don't know why
You should
they
see the
changed
people behind the tavern because, you know,
Well,
it's a lot
the first
scary, I mean, it's
amendment
scary,
looked
it looks a
good.
lot scarier than it is. And they're like, what's he doing up there?
Oh, man.
I guess when he comes before the board in the future, I'm not allowed to ask questions.
Yeah.
I saw that, I saw you out there, went by and you were trying to stand it up.
Yeah, they just took that section out. Like, what is that?
All right.
I'll leave
Thanks,
that
sir.
with you.
Thank you, guys.
The last meeting, Mr. Combs, did you leave a file?
You did.
Andrew,
I have it. A picture?
I'm gonna buy a shotgun.
I would love to take a look at that.
That's what I was laughing at, that's exactly what I was laughing at.
That's the first-
That cracked me up.
You're the only person that's coming.
Yeah.
Everybody's left the picture.
We just need to make sure that
Old pictures of the town of Abingdon
Yeah.
buildings
Yeah.
that I wanted to look through
Okay.
and then take a look. I didn't know if you picked up or.
No,
It went down to the second
This it?
floor. The second floor got together and then trying to figure it out and third floor, so it's again.
Well, that didn't take as long as I thought.
Communication thing. Yeah,
No,
just.
it's-
Moving on real
That's
well.
right. I've talked to him here at 9 o'clock. He's fine. I mean, jarred him a bit, but it's
Thank
fine.
you.
She's helped me
There's also a,
thinking about.
I'll get with Jason on.
everything you ever wanted to know about brick restoration.
Those are learning experiences.
Group
and that's
in
what I
Knoxville
promise
called
you.
You want your water?
Thanks so
Oh,
much.
thank you. Wall Street?
Yeah, okay, I didn't see Wall Street on the bottom. That's Wall Street down towards.
Old train station. See, my grandfather used to own, I mean, I remember, do you remember before the post office was there?
The old hotel?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, I mean, you had Morrell's store that was sitting down on the corner.
Yeah.
And you had comic shoes, it had a comic, People's Drug Store.
That's the Bellwood Hotel? No, that's the
That's
building
Abingdon.
now. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
Okay, so it had those, yeah, cause they tore out all that stuff. I've seen that picture before.
Yeah, here's the Belmont.
Larges, yeah.
That's the corner of Washington County.
I thought
Yeah,
that was a
that's
big
right.
deal when my mother allowed me to come to Abingdon and get a haircut at that barber shop that was in Old Belmont.
Yeah, I remember.
They had about 6 guys in there.
Man, I didn't realize that.
They took all
They
that
tore all
out.
didn't
I
they?
mean, man, if we could go back in time and stop it,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
Those are nice looking buildings.
yeah. Oh, they're as big as the Mercantile.
I mean, but they tore everything down here to build post office.
I tell you, if anyone, the post office was gonna switch over and go where the Little League field is off Russell
Mhm.
at one point. We looked at, Dad and I looked at going in there and getting Bundy or somebody to recreate this and try to rebuild the old building.
That was my college thesis. My 5th year's thesis at Virginia Tech was to take take that property and make it retail again. And then my roommate, who was from Abingdon, was doing a new theater for Barter on the Barter Green, and I did a walking garden between downtown and his location.
Oh,
I don't know.
What is this?
1976.
That's the Martha, right?
Is it the Martha?
yeah, that's
The
what I
Martha,
took it as.
yeah.
Martha,
Really?
yeah,
That's odd.
which is walking paths.
Is that the one, what side is that? Is that Main Street? Cause his old wings.
I guess it is.
That's not the old wings on it.
That's when it was a college, right?
Mhm.
That's weird. That's the, that's behind, is that behind the Martha? No, that's the old.
So, I've seen that.
Is that the church?
Sinking Spring? No,
Look at the window.
I don't know what that is.
Is it on the back? I don't know if you have anything on the back of my mom. I did.
That's weird.
Explaining what each one was to be used against. Was that
He had a
eight-
character in
Where
there
is that?
with the cones.
27 8x10 color glossy photograph?
No, I mean, but you can imagine playing here, look at all these spikes, I think it's kids playing, impale themselves.
Nice old, in the old Gothic way there. I've seen this picture before.
Courthouse?
Yeah, that's where they had that thing in the middle there.
Yeah.
But look at this old building. Is it still there?
No.
They tore it down and there's like an office space there now. Amazing that thing's still around.
There didn't used to be such an elevation change between the courthouse and, I guess they lowered the street.
Oh, you're saying because of the stair up here, or what? You're saying the elevation for the courthouse?
Yeah, I think that it was, I've seen other photographs where it kind of appears the porch wasn't so high.
Yeah.
So I don't know when they put that stone porch on.
I mean, but, you know, guys, one of the things that I always admire whenever you're looking at these old photographs, every man is in a coat, he's got a tie on, he's got a hat.
Yeah.
I mean, that just,
A little bit more formal back then.
oh,
One of my buddies is named Carlisle Cox, and in his foyer, he has
thank you.
You're welcome.
he has a photograph of his grandfather and his grandfather's friend, and they were going fly fishing. And they had vests and ties on.
Not really. Yeah, I wouldn't want to go out there floating Holston in a tie.
Oh.
Different.
Different
You all.
society.
You need help,
No, ma'am.
Hamlet?
No, thank you.
That went well. I was a little worried.
Hello.
Thanks, buddy. Hey, send me that info, when we get the opportunity, Mike. Okay, thanks, buddy. Thanks, Andrew, see you, man. Anyways, I'm gonna go, okay.
There's nothing cheap about it. If you can get up to
so this meeting can go on.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.